Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad, this is my channel Animate Orange, and welcome to another Metal Earth review. Today we are going to review this Metal Earth Special Edition Flintstones car, complete with Fred and Barney all put together and driving to wherever they need to go. And this is a very, very well painted and colorful, very nice looking, very cartoonish looking model. You know, they've kind of discussed this before with the Legends models that Metal Earth has put out. The ones that look the best are probably the cartoon ones, like the Looney Tunes ones. Well, while this used to be Hanna-Barbera, it is now a Warner Brothers property, and along with the Looney Tunes, it looks just as wonderfully nice. And a nice, not too shiny paint job that really brings out the detail. I think they've done a wonderful job with this. Now, first look, it basically looks like a couple of little Legends models sitting in a fairly simple car. But is it that easy? Well, yes it is. The Legends models, putting together Barney and Fred, are pretty easy. A little bit of extra work on shaping that nose there, but not too hard. The hair is a little bit more detailed, but the body and the arms and the legs, which are very short, are quite simple. Check that out. Fred's legs are sticking out the bottom because, you know, that's how his car was powered. Barney's legs are a lot smaller. You can't really see them because they're not sticking out the bottom. But yeah, the two bodies come together really easily. Now, I initially thought, well, this is going to be a fairly quick build. It's going to take a little longer than a Legends model, but I probably took a little longer than I initially anticipated. It took about 1 hour and 45 minutes, so almost 2 hours to put this together, which really isn't that bad because you are building two Legends models, which can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour depending on the complexity of it, and then you're building a car for them to sit in, which is going to take at least as long. So really 1 hour and 45 minutes is not too bad, especially for how wonderful this thing looks. And it really is an easy model. It is really straightforward and simple to put together. It's not tricky, it's not complicated. There's a few sections when putting the body together with like these two side pieces here and then here and here look the same, but there's a slight difference because of the way the top fits together at a very slight angle. It looks like very slight. The way it comes together, you have to keep this part separate from that part, even though they look fairly identical, and that's not hard to keep track of. Putting the wheels together, you know, I've put several vehicles together and I kind of expected the wheels to go one way, but they go differently with this because it's basically a big stone drum. So putting this connection piece on the outside detailed or colored side of the wheel seemed a bit odd because I'm used to putting that on the back side where there's not detail. But again, this is a big long drum, so it's one big wheel in the front, one big wheel in the back. Will say that, as you can see here, the seam is sitting on top of this drum, and I didn't intend for it to be that way. I had originally thought these side pieces on each side of the wheels that connect it to the body, they're basically three sides that fold over and you have the detailing on the outside, but the inside is plain. And I was putting the wheels together, you put them all together fairly early in the build, I was thinking, well, that open area is probably going to face down, so I'm going to try and face the open area away from the seam so that the seam will be underneath and hidden. I was wrong. I should have looked farther ahead in the instructions because that's kind of covered up, and for whatever reason you can more clearly see it underneath, so they put the colored side down there, whereas the top part is open, but you can't so easily see that because of the folded over detail there. So I got that backwards. Had they connected the way I thought, this drum would have been hidden underneath, and this one probably hidden in the back side here, but I made a mistake and got that incorrect. The other thing I made a mistake on, you'll notice that Barney is missing an ear here, and I put the ear on upside down by mistake and twisted it. I was pretty sure I had it right, but I double checked and I noticed that it was wrong. So I tried to carefully pull it off and untwist it and pull it out and put it back in the other way, but in the process the seam between the two halves snapped and I ended up with two pieces, and I just kind of said, alright, never mind. I looked for a spare, there wasn't a spare, and I moved on without it. I could have taken the time. There's a few things I could have done to try and repair the ear. I could have carefully laid the insides on a piece of tape folded it over and trimmed the edge of the tape so that tape would hold it, and then reinsert the tabs. I didn't go to the trouble. I could have asked for replacement parts, but that would have meant waiting up to a week for communication, for them to send the model, and I really wanted to get this model over and done with. In a recent video I've mentioned how I've got a lot of models on the table waiting for your requests, and I just kind of wanted to move forward, and I just kind of let it go. He's going to be missing an ear, and you know, if I really wanted to, I could still try the tape idea, maybe put some glue and try to get it in there anyway, but you know, I kind of wanted to finish the build and move forward, and none of my models really are perfect. There's a mistake in every one of them. The main reason I'm building these, I mean, I'm building them for my own collection, but I'm also building them to kind of show other people the process. So yeah, in this situation I just made the decision to leave Barney with one ear and just move forward with everything else. Someday I'll go back and maybe fix that. Someday. There's really no tricky spots or tricky areas to warn you of. There are a number of areas where the instructions suggest twisting a tab, where I folded them over, like the sides pieces here and the sides here. When I initially put, I think it was this back part on, I folded the tabs over rather than twist them because it's a neater look. And I folded one tab one way and then one tab the other way. That way they're both pressing against the part, holding it flat, whereas if you fold them both in the same direction and that part twists just right, it can slide off the tabs, and I've had that happen. So there were some areas I folded the tabs in opposite directions because there were two. This top piece I folded them both down because the pressure of where these overlap here on the top just basically is going to hold them into place, and I'm not worried about it. I think when I put this side on, I did opposite folding of the tabs because there was nothing else holding it on, but when I did this side, I folded them both the same way because between both sides I'm not worried about it coming apart. So there were, you know, I did try to make it a little bit cleaner with folded tabs in some areas, and I suggest folding the tabs carefully opposite directions to help hold things together, at least in certain circumstances. I often ask myself at the end of a build, is there anything I would have done differently knowing what I know now? The only thing is just being more careful with that ear, and I always say that. I really did think I had it correct the first time. I did take the time to look to see which way they're supposed to mount, and I guess I just spun Barney's head around the wrong way when I put it on and didn't realize it, and it was just a simple mistake. So being a little more careful and trying to get the ear right the first time would be the only thing I'd say I'd do differently. Everything else just came together fairly simply, and you end up with this wonderful model. I really love the paint job on this. It really sets it out. And you know, as I'm building the face and the head of the two different characters here, Barney and Rubble, or Barney and Fred, it kind of looked odd, but now that it's all together, the nose and everything looks just right. The nose is a little flat and pokey, but all together it looks really cool. And I was worried about how this dashboard, the back is really silver, but most of that's covered up by the wheels. So overall, it looks really awesome. And I just got off of my phone messaging with somebody who couldn't find the Flintstones car on the Metal Earth website, and it took me a second to figure out where it is myself. It is listed in the Legends, along with the Legends model. So if you go in the Legends section, you will find this in there on the Metal Earth page. If you go to the Fascinations.com website, there is, along with the license stuff, listed Flintstones by itself. I don't know why there's a difference, but it is on the Metal Earth page under the Legends models. I will say another thing, when I opened this package up, it had an unusual kind of wood metallic smell to it. And if you watch my build video in the very beginning, you'll kind of see me comment on that. But of all the models I've built, I've never noticed much of an odd smell. But when I opened this up, it had kind of a strong sort of wood sawdust mixed with a very kind of, not rusted metal, but a very metallic smell. Very odd, and I don't know why, but whatever that is, it's very much faded now. So maybe that's part of the paint job or the process they go through and getting the paint job on there. I don't know, because while I've had models that had a paint job on them before, I don't know that I've had one that's had this much layering in detail. And maybe it's the brown. Maybe there's actually some wood in there. I don't know. An interesting little notation. I'm curious to see if they're going to release any more Flintstones themes model. I really like that Metal Earth has put them in their car, and I could see having some fun with maybe a couple of houses, a little Flintstones village. Not that Metal Earth would ever do that, but that'd be pretty neat. MU's made like amusement park models that you can put together into a park. You have the individual rides that you can put together. Wouldn't it be kind of neat if they went and made maybe the houses and the fence, and so you could build a little Flintstones diorama community? That'd be pretty cool. I'm going to leave it at that. As always, thank you for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting this channel so that I can continue to make these build videos, review videos, and news videos. This was a customer request, so if you've made a request, I am getting around to them. I have quite a few. They're all lined up, but I will eventually get to them, try to get to them as quick as I can, but sometimes time is an issue. Again, thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on. We have one big colorful sheet. There's a very interesting smell. Kind of rustic smell. Interesting. Kind of a metallic sawdust, weird smell. I've never noticed that in all the models that I've built. Almost earthy, almost wood with a hint of metal. That's weird. Weird. We have our interestingly long and thin instructions here.